Find out for the bombs. They always bomb the Shia, my friend David had shouted at me, screeching his bike to a halt to deliver the warning.
My own expectations of Baghdad weren't any more charitable. For decades, Iraq has been a byword for dictatorship, invasion, and terrorism. Saddam Hussein from 1979, sanctions and the Gulf War from 1990, shock and awe in 2003, ISIS overrunning Mosul in 2014 before finally being pushed out in 2017. Nor were all of these anxieties imaginary. As my plane took off, a friend texted to warn that the United States and Saudi Arabia had just killed 20 in strikes on Iranian-sponsored paramilitary groups in Iraq. President Trump simultaneously announced he would beat the fucking shit out of that sponsor. Even after 20 years researching propaganda and foreign policy, this was still the Iraq in my head. But perhaps 2017 was when many of us stopped watching. One of our interpreters, Malik, had been a child under Saddam. He remembered years of extraordinary deprivation when his family survived largely on dates and maybe an egg each month. The Iraq he described was recognizable as the country in my mental picture, and yet the one outside the window increasingly was not. The reason for my visit was Arbaeen, a Shia Muslim pilgrimage to Karbala, south of Baghdad. My hosts covered the trip, and my assignment was simply to, quote, share your genuine experience with your audience without any strict script or fixed requirements, according to our group leader, Amjad. Arbaeen attracts more than 20 million pilgrims, including 5 million from outside Iraq, making it, by some estimates, the largest annual public gathering in the world. I'd never heard of it. Had you? Arbaeen marks 40 days after the martyrdom of Hussein ibn Ali, grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who was killed at Karbala in 680 after refusing allegiance to the Umayyad ruler Yazid. For Shia Muslims, Imam Hussein became the supreme symbol of resistance to injustice. Saddam severely restricted the pilgrimage. Since his fall, it has grown spectacularly. None of this quite prepared me for the shrines themselves. They are staggeringly beautiful, vast complexes of gold, mirrored glass, chandeliers, calligraphy, and crowds, at once places of worship, historical memory, and enormous public institutions. Yet the country I experienced looked remarkably unlike the one I had expected. The airport functioned. Roads were busy. Quote, there are laws, not really, Amjad laughed. The famous Green Zone, once the heavily fortified symbol of post-invasion Iraq, wasn't something anyone even talked about. I was also struck by how little I heard the Sunni-Shia division invoked in ordinary conversation. I was told that asking someone on the street whether they were Sunni or Shia could itself now be regarded as provocative, as though you were trying to reopen a division that many Iraqis would rather leave behind. That hardly means Iraq has transcended sectarian politics, but it was strikingly different from the country whose Sunni-Shia conflict once dominated the news. Throughout the pilgrimage, all Iraqis were determined to feed us, water us, and help us in any way they could, operating from thousands of mawkibs, temporary hospitality stations lining the roads, sustained by generosity and in service of God, created for his academic ambitions. And Iraq itself still has profound problems. It ranks 162nd of 180 countries in the 2026 World Press Freedom Index and 136th of 182 in Transparency International's latest corruption index. American soldiers, for their part, were nowhere to be seen. American power, of course, was harder to photograph. Iraq's oil revenues still flow through an account held by the Central Bank of Iraq at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, an extraordinary legacy of the post-2003 order that gives Washington control of the purse strings. In 2020, when Baghdad sought the withdrawal of US troops, Washington threatened to restrict access to its funds. More recently, Washington has restricted Iraqi banks' access to dollars because of concerns about money reaching Iran. Before travelling, I had imagined spending most of my time touring the shrines. Instead, after every visit, we were taken somewhere else too. The shrine's behind-the-scenes media centres. Modern TV studios, editing suites, social media teams. One centre proudly showed us server and storage infrastructure worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. Another was producing a television drama about Saddam Hussein's crimes against the Shia. We could hear the actors screaming through the walls. It gradually became obvious why we'd been invited. Most of our group were influencers with hundreds of thousands of followers. I was the odd academic out. Mortiger passed 1 million on Instagram while we were there, and we celebrated with cake. The Holy Shrine's media centres produce content in multiple languages, and remarkably, much of it is released without restrictive copyright, so that others can share it freely around the world. Countries project themselves in different ways. Britain has the BBC, the United States has Hollywood. Iraq has something stranger, a form of soft power no institution quite created or controls. Arbaeen wasn't manufactured. It exists because millions of people have passionately believed in it for over 1,000 years. American military commanders reportedly dubbed the vast dark-clothed procession into Karbala seen from above as the Black Snake. So yes, Arbaeen's resurgence also has a geopolitical dimension. Since Saddam's fall, Shia parties have become central to Iraqi politics, while neighbouring Iran has acquired influence unimaginable under the Ba'athist dictatorship. During the 1980-88 Iran-Iraq war, the US came to back Saddam against Iran. Now, with Saddam long dead, Iran has won the peace. Iraq's population has nearly doubled since the 2003 invasion. Its median age is just 22. The country I'd been carrying around in my head was not merely politically outdated, it was populated by the wrong generation. I travelled to Iraq expecting to learn about Shia Islam, but the people preserving a 7th century story are serious practitioners of 21st century communication. I came home thinking about media, and I found myself wondering whether the biggest gap was not between Iraq and Britain, but between the Iraq that exists today and the one that still occupies our imagination.
هذا